Welcome, everybody, to another episode of The Most Important Conversations. We are talking about relationships. I have my co-host, Jenna Smith, today. Jenna, how's it going?
Good. It's snowing in Canada in April, so.
Not where I am, but that's okay.
Ridiculous.
All right. We have a short but punchy podcast for you today, just because Jenna and I got some stuff we got to go handle. We got some things going on here, as they say. But it's a punchy conversation around sexual energy. This has been popularized, and in many podcasts have talked about this. Tons of books have talked about this for probably about the past at least 10 to 15 years. It's been a common. But I'm always amazed, Jenna, when I talk to people about this from time to time that maybe they're not regularly in conversation with me about this. They're like, what is that? So clearly, despite it being out there for many years, it's still very niche, isn't it? There's people who are like wanting to talk about sexual energy and they're all in. And then there's the rest of everyone who's like, what is that?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
How would you define sexual energy, just so people know?
Okay, so for me, I always relate to sexual energy as the energy of aliveness, life force energy, creativity. It's the unique energy source that makes us fundamentally who we are. There's so much of human existence, because so I look at it strictly through the lens of creativity. Other people might not, but that's the way I look at it through it. I don't know. How would you define it?
Yeah, creative energy, relational energy, like the same energy that creates people. It's the same energy that creates things. So yeah,
and all of
energy,
nature,
alive energy. Yeah, yes. So
right?
it's the big thing.
The birds, the bees, the flowers.
They're all doing it.
Everyone. That's right.
There's a song.
It's the creative energy of life. Okay, but there's so many subtopics in this. And so the first thing I want to say about this, that when I think about it, is it was Ian Kerner. I was reading one of his books. I can't remember which one. And Ian's a very well-known, highly regarded sex therapist in New York City. He's written many, many books like Passionista, She Comes First. That's probably his most famous one. He's got a bunch of other ones. And he probably defined sex the best way I've ever heard it defined by anyone. He said, sex is how adults play, period. That's it. It's play. And when I think of sexual energy, as I said, I think of creativity, and play is a fundamental part of creativity. Play is effectively creativity in action or in motion. When we were really young, everyone just naturally played. We created things. We invented things. And the energy behind that, although we were young, so we weren't thinking through this lens, is the sexual energy. It's the creative energy, the life force energy that we all have within us. And when we become adults, the way we play is through sexuality. Now, that's a problem. There's so much I could say about this now that I'm starting to think about it. Because if you think about where the creative center is in your brain, it's your right brain. That's also where our emotions are. And if you think about the Western world, we've shut off largely and relegated the right brain to the thing that shall not be talked about, right? We're a very left brain heavy society, right? Logic, it's got to make sense. It's got to be rational, suppress your emotions. You look at the schools today, we don't have time for creativity in the schools. Hey, we need to make budget cuts. What's the first thing we should cut? Art, music, drama, it's all gone, right? So we have this culture that's got this opposition, or at least it prioritizes left-brained stuff over right-brained stuff. And yet the whole idea of creativity and play being the same energy as sexual energy, well, then that means sex is relegated. So, we live in this society, not to mention all of the dogma of the patriarchal religions and all of that kind of stuff. So there's so much going on that we just take for granted. It's the water we're swimming in. That is repressing sexual energy. And so what does that do for people in relationships? It makes the relationships very transactional, very lifeless.
Well, performative too. Like, I don't
Performative.
feel like it. I don't like now because you have to perform. But when you can sink into play, it's actually regenerative. So
Totally.
if you're left brain dominant, I call it mind dominance. I just call it mind dominance. If you're mind dominant, you'll be like, oh, this is something else to do. Something else to do. Don't have time. Like a blah, blah, boring, blah.
Add it to the checklist.
And then people are like, why don't I feel alive? And then they go for the drugs and the things and the things and the things. And we know all that.
To supplant that, right? So I always go back to like when we were children. If your friend said, hey, do you want to go out and play? Would you be like, oh, that's just something else I got to do today? Like, I don't know. Let me check my schedule, like,
well,
no.
It's like a dog going for a run. They're not like, I gotta go for this run. Like, their aliveness hasn't been thwarted through conditioning and the mismanagement of training the mind to be the most dominant intelligence system that's active and online for capitalism, for productivity, for all these stupid metrics that don't lead to aliveness. So if we want to be more alive and we want to be more connected, the thing about the left brain, it's like, it is what it is. It has its purpose. It's cool. I don't even villainize it, but you don't really want to have sex from there. It's not like it's not the best place for spreadsheets. Although I have a spreadsheet of kinks I will do or not do. That might be something people want to try. But like, you do want to get into the body. You want to get into the heart. You want to get into sensation. So a lot of Tantra is misunderstood. It's like, ooh, Sting has a long orgasm. It's like, it's sensation, it's connection, it's openness. And looking at our blocks to that and looking at the opportunities to release the blocks to that so that more aliveness can be running through your body.
That's right. Yeah. No, well put. Sex shouldn't be a spreadsheet and it shouldn't be part of your to-do list. Right now, I know a lot of sex therapists.
Unless it's a fun version where you're like, what we're going to do is,
Well, but then you're in play there.
Different.
You're
that's
you're
play.
in play in that. But it can't be sort of on the list of, okay, I got to get the groceries, got to do this. Like,
brain. It's mechanical, it's transactional. If I do this, I'll have less energy and I won't have time for this, blah, blah.
Yeah. You're also playing from a sort of a zero sum energy, access point, which is interesting. So I was at the YMCA years ago and they had this poster. It was a gym I used to go to, and they had this poster and said, the best way to get energy is to give it away. Meaning that's why you're at the gym. You're exerting energy at the gym, and guess what? You're going to have more of it. So there's and so the people who say about sex, I'm too tired. That's going to recursively keep you in a downward loop where your sex life's going to continue to get worse.
Yeah.
Right.
To also look at that transactionalness of it. I only have $20 in my account. So if I spend this, I'm not going to get it. And like, life doesn't actually work that way. And this is the second time. So I was listening to something else about if you're getting a creative impulse, the purpose of action is to clear the deck, like clear that thing, do the thing that you're getting the impulse to do from creativity, from being a receptive creator, which humans are. You have to do the thing because now you've emptied the tank so that you can get more creative energy to do the thing. But most people like do the thing, get the thing, goalpost moves, exhaustion. So the opportunity in our conversation is how to start this process of regenerative sexual play, accessing these parts of you, increasing your relationship, everything. Like, I mean, you could, if you have this kind of play and then have a conversation with your partner, that's going to go way better. So like just all of these positive reasons to start to explore sexual energy, your blocks to it, understand that your mind dominance isn't going to want you to do it. It's going to listen to this and be like, I don't have time for it. I'll listen to it later. Like just the opportunity is to be more alive, be more connected.
Yeah. Now let's say, okay, so there's kind of two things that I think I want people to get. So most of our society, and it's conditioning, it's not you're a bad person thing, but just it's conditioning. Most of our society is stuck in this left brain. So as you start to move into the right brain, into your creativity center, your emotional center, you start to get more playful with life. You start to embrace life. And you start to relate to sex as playful, and this is how we play. Now it's no longer transactional. It's no longer a chore. And then an entire world opens up. So some of the things that you and I were talking about is, there are many, many different ways that people can play vis-a-vis sexuality. What are some of those ways that, the people that you work with have shared with you? I mean, we were talking about, DOMs and stuff like that.
Yeah, power play.
Right. That could be a version of play, right?
Right. I mean, and you can create scenes, you can do the role playing. I mean, there's a lot of fun things that can be done. I mean, sensation play. Miss Jaya has a erotic blueprint quiz.
Have the book. And she's got a great quiz.
Of course you have the book, Chad. Chad is I have the book guy.
Yeah, I got the book.
And he'll grab it and show it to me. It's right
I could grab it. It's right there. It's just off. Yeah. She's great. She's got amazing stuff about energetics, man. I mean, she is on to something.
Yes. Yeah, and so it's the love languages of sexual energy. Is how I describe it to people. And so I'm a sensual. And so someone else might be a kink or a shapeshifter, which is all of them. But sensual is through sensation. So it's good to know that. I would say, I think it's $17 to do her erotic blueprint. It's worth doing because then you can now explore how you play.
Yeah.
That's going to be because most people, it's like love languages. They're like, oh, I give you gifts because I like gifts. And then all of the arguments and marriage is literally ending because I'm loving you the way I want to be loved and no one feels loved. Sex is the same thing. So if I'm a sexual, I love when I'm with another person like that. Cause I'm oh, we're just going to both know how we want to do this. We're both going to like it. But if you're with a kink person, now it's more creative. Now there's more communication necessary. But the thing is, the starting part for most people is bleak and low. I got to be honest. Most people, I'm okay, how do you self-pleasure? And there's still some shame about it and hiding and well, when they're in the shower, I do this. And it's okay.
There's a lot of guilt and shame. Yeah.
There's still, so I guess let's just call out the elephant in the room is that.
By the way, I was a shapeshifter on the blueprint, just so you know.
Okay. So you all the things. So,
and that just goes.
I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah. It's you want to do this? Sure. You want to do that? No problem.
Some energetics. Oh yeah, energetics. So that's the other. Yeah. I thought I would have been high energetic, but I'm just an energetic proficient person. So just because I can shamanically journey and do energy work doesn't mean that's my sexual blueprint. I thought that was interesting. It's kind of when power animals were really popular. It's not really supposed to talk about that anymore, the procreation. But people be yeah, that's my spirit animal. It's no, it's just an animal you like. It's not, you're using it wrong. So anyway, back to the point. There are multiple ways to play, but I would say the starting point is a lot of what we're always going to say is self-relationship. How do you get turned on?
Yeah.
What are you ashamed of that you're turned on by? Those would be some places to start. They maybe seem more deep, but now you can be oh, I really like this. I don't like that. I really like this. I don't like that. Movie watching together would be a playful beginning.
Yeah.
Looking at something together, reading something together. I would start small for most people.
Yeah.
What do we like? Oh, I watched that movie and it really turned me on. Okay, what about it? And then to stay curious and just kind of document.
But most people can't even say that. That's the thing though.
Yeah.
They're even afraid to talk about it. I'm not saying what you're saying is a problem. But how do I would say that that people in relationship need to even start just talking about sex, even feeling comfortable sharing, because
well, and that's where I would start writing first. I would start with a journal situation or whatever your notes section, but journaling's better. Writing is a better human technology, just to get over that gap of saying it out loud to another person.
Get out of your head, out of your left brain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, journaling actually will do that. So it's actually a technique for left-hand, right-hand dialoguing, to give you access to your right brain is if you write what am I turned on by, I've never done this before. I'm going to try it one time. Answer with your left hand. And it's going to give you access. It's usually done with inner child access, but you can access your higher self. You can access your sex goddess. You can access whatever creative download you want. Pretend you're in the Matrix and you can download it. You can access it through this type of dialoguing. I'm going to try that.
Sounds fun. It's play, right? It all gets down to play. So what we're talking about, is how to activate the aliveness, right? How to remove the dysfunction and dysfunctional behaviors that come with a lack of aliveness, because then we're sort of hedging and protecting and obfuscating and that kills arousal. There's zero arousal there. And another thing is in relationships that people fall into is this obligatory kind of thing. Like we're in relationships, so therefore you owe me, right? Nothing playful about that, right?
Yeah.
That'd be like knocking on Sally's door and saying, "Hey, you owe me. Let's go play." Like that's going to go.
I'm sure
well.
that's happened though.
Yeah. Right.
I helped you move. You owe me. I actually had a guy do that. He offered to help me move and then got really mad at me that I didn't have sex with him.
Really? True story, as they say.
Actually, true story. I was like on the phone going like,
I helped you move. When are we meeting in the bedroom?
He was so mad. And I'm like, thanks for showing me who you are. And off we go. Moving on. Anyway, weird shit.
Can I buy you a case of beer instead?
Yeah. I mean, the transactionalness, but women have been, and this is true, like make man happy, don't make man mad. It just is. And so,
and I like how you said it like a cave woman.
Because that's the conditioning. Don't even question it. This is what's true. So even to start to unhook from that is a whole other thing. But the transactional is too, people are just so, what's the word? They're fighting for love and approval. They're in fight or flight around pleasure and receiving, which is ironic. So like, my needs aren't getting met. You owe me. That isn't a place to receive pleasure either.
No.
So you're still not going to get what you want.
Even if your partner capitulated in that circumstance, you are not energetically in a place to be able to receive it.
That's the whole point. Like, it's just not going to work. So you have to, I call it gear shifting. It's like gear shifting away from the brain into the body. So I would say like doing something together, like this is just good for in general, go on a date, do something together you haven't done before. Like this isn't new news. This is great advice. You're doing something new, do something together, getting out of your head, or like you're both not good at the thing, whether it's axe throwing or whatever. Pick something that you're not good at, where you're now in the experience. You're now in the experience. So like, get curious what turns you on, journal about it, talk about it with your partner. Those would be some starting points. And then once you create some intimacy, that the other thing is safety. So I'm going to talk about safety all the time. Because not enough people see it as a value. They don't get that if you have safe enough, you're going to create the conditions for many other layers of human awesomeness that aren't possible without safety. So now you're going to feel emotionally safe. You're going to feel physically safe. And now playfulness is kind of inevitable. It's the dog that wants to run in the dog. Like you're just going to be like, I'm safe. Now I can play.
Yeah, that makes sense. You mentioned that you have you've created a list or something like that of different. Well, I'm just thinking for some of the people listening.
Like, can you send it to me?
Well, maybe. Well, I actually have I have a list too. So maybe we should compare our lists and create a master list.
Different show. Yeah.
Right.
Yes,
no, but it's
what I will or won't do in each category.
Yeah. But see what that is it's kind of like, for people who are still kind of transitioning from left to right brainedness, it's like, okay, what are all the games we could play today if we're going to play, right? Like it's just, it helps unlock, because I think so many people especially in their sex life and in their relationships are just trapped in, why do they call it missionary, by the way? It just hit me. I'm like, why?
I think that's just like what they said you should do to make a baby.
No, but
position.
But you think about a missionary is.
Yeah.
Okay?
I always assumed that was the connection.
I thought so too, because I don't understand. Like you think it's like we're on a mission.
I thought it was missionaries and like the churchy person.
That's what I thought. But what does that have to do with this? And what does that have to do with that position specifically? There's nothing missionary about
babies,
it.
Do your job.
Okay. I don't know where it comes from. Anyway, I feel like people relate to sex.
A person sent on a religious mission
Yeah, I know.
Especially one to promote Christianity in a foreign country.
Just wondering what it has to do with anything.
Yeah.
But the point is, so I was going to use it as a euphemism to basically say that people relate to sex and their sex life in a very sort of boring missionary kind of approach.
Yeah,
it's like,
because they've been trained that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's happened. Like religion and society has all this conditioning. That's not what we're talking about. That's a much longer show.
Mm-hmm.
But what you can do is reclaim your aliveness because it's already in your body. Like it's already there. Like I have to tell people this all the time and remind myself, like your aliveness is already there. You're just in your mind. You're in this quadrant where you can't access it. It doesn't mean you can't access it. You just haven't been taught how to, or you just shoved it down for so long. So to start to just feel your body and to explore these things and to read about it. I think reading about it's great. We talked about the erotic blueprint, and then, but some of the sex shops have great, you can go talk to someone that like, hey, where are you starting out? Like that.
And they'll love to talk to you about this stuff.
They will. And so that's like a sex positive place. I think start exploring. There's lots on the internet that's actually really good. There's lots that's really weird. You just know you're getting into. But I would say that would be the start of the play. Is like, oh, let me just start looking into this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that it takes a playful energy to suggest, hey, what we're doing is pretty kind of routine here and routinized.
And that's where the list can come in, because even I'm at the grocery store and I forget to buy avocados. Like the list to me, like my lover and I, we have a list. We're like, oh yeah, we should try that one sometime because we forget. I'm like, oh yeah, we wanted to do that. So I'm making it into cue cards. So then like we get to try one on because we're not planning it. And like, if we don't feel like it, we can pass. But anyone can do that.
Yeah.
Anyone can do that. It's like, doesn't, but the creativity that a lot of people are devoid of that. So I would just say, start exploring. Like that would be the beginning for people. Like acknowledge that you want more play, acknowledge that your left brain's not going to get you there. Like, okay, so just start exploring. That's going to start. You
can't figure this out and then start, because it's the idea of figuring it out is left brain.
No, there's no figuring it out. Like it is an experiential, participatory energy. Aliveness is the smelling of the flower you can't read a book about.
No, you can't figure out, well, how does one go about doing that?
You got experience, and then your own body is its own thing. Your own creativity and how you want to play in that arena is a whole thing. Does the partner want that?
Won't know unless you explore it and ask.
Yeah.
And well, not even ask, try. You have to try it. Because that's the other thing. Even the list that you're talking about is not going to be that useful for people to go through and say, yes, no, yes, no. I would relate to the list as this. Here's a bunch of things we're going to try, because whatever I think about these, I actually have no clue unless I try it.
Yeah. And then some of them are actual fannies. Like if someone really feels into their body, and this is a whole other skill set that you might have to learn. You have your school, I have the resourcing method, but there's ways to train how to do that, where you have an inner yes and an inner no. So like, do I want to do the gangbang? Like, let's just go extreme. But like, if someone has a fantasy about that and they're like, oh, I have a fantasy about this, it doesn't necessarily mean they want to experience it.
Right.
So I just wanted to say that. So like, just because you're like, oh my God, I have this fantasy, like, does that mean, sometimes it's just a fantasy, but some things you might want to actually experience.
And that is actually a great place we told you it was going to be short and punchy today. So I would actually like to pick up right there on our next episode, the distinction between fantasy and actuality and trying things. There's something to think about there, because I actually have a different opinion. Actually, I don't know how you know something is just a fantasy versus something you should try unless you try it. It's kind of like, I have a fantasy of trying red wine, but I never know if I'm going to like red wine unless I try it. And if I just say it's just a fantasy and I never try it, how do I know I wouldn't love red wine?
That's true. And then there's a risk element to it, but there is also feeling into your body, visualizing it, feeling your body, and then your body answering you.
Yeah.
As well. So both are true.
Yeah. And then the other thing we can talk about next time is whenever human beings try something they've never done, the fear and trepidation will always be there. Always be there, because it's just the unknown.
You're going to hold your breath. You're going to wonder what people are thinking. You're going to be awkward and weird. Like, all of us are the same. So don't worry about it.
So with your partner, you're going to experience fear even talking about this stuff. So, all right, we have to leave it there. We both have to head off to some other things. We wanted to get this in. Thank you so much for joining us on this very abridged version of the most important conversations about relationships. We're going to keep that title long and awkward intentionally. And we will see you all on the next episode. Thanks for joining.
That concludes this episode of The Most Important Conversations. This in-depth conversation could set you on the path to self-improvement, which is essential if you want to be an effective leader and take meaningful action in your life. If you enjoyed this episode and want more of these stimulating discussions, you can find them at tmicglobal.com. Remember, the world is at a crossroads right now. You can't afford to waste this opportunity to take charge of your life, build meaningful relationships with others, and co-create a brighter tomorrow. Thank you for listening. See you on the next one.